Good morning and guten Morgen to all our colleagues from Germany. Particular good morning to Minister McKee and shortly Minister Pinkwart from North Rhine-Westphalia. My name is Paul Little and I am the 133rd President of Glasgow Chamber of Commerce, and it's my personal pleasure to welcome you all to what is our 6th virtual trade mission. We've had 7 in the last year or so, and this is our 6th. In fact, this is our 2nd trade mission, Minister McKee, for renewable energy and green tech. So we're gathering pace and expertise in hosting that. My day job is Principal and Chief Executive of Scotland's Super College. I'm also interested in this particular topic. But this morning, before we kick off with Minister McKee, I'd like to give a quick mention, if I might, to some of our supporters. Scottish Government, we are very indebted to them. Also our partners in Scottish Chamber of Commerce, in the Scottish Development International, in the North Rhine-Westphalia Global Business, in Energy Agentur, in our German trade and investment partners, and also with British Chamber of Commerce Germany. Some of them will be speaking this morning, and I'll introduce them each in turn. So this gives us an opportunity, delegates, to do the market awareness session. And I think Sarah, after this, has organised some 26 one-to-one B2B meetings. So you have a second day at this and some additional time later on today. So that's great. After Minister McKee, we'll be hearing from Professor Dr. Minister Pinkwart of the North Rhine-Westphalia region. And I'll introduce him just before he makes his presentation. Now, hopefully all the delegates have had your timetables, and if there's any particular hiccups, if you wanted to put in chat to either Sarah or Richard, they'll support you during this session and indeed between sessions. So without any further ado, remember this has been recorded, and also if you would please to remember both to your speakers and to our delegates to keep your mics in mute, and a gentle reminder to all our speakers to try where possible to keep in time. If you see me fidgeting, then you know because I'm trying to host this to time, and we hope to end, all being well, by about 10:40. I'll try and keep everyone's presentation to time. So first up, it's a particular delight to welcome the Minister Ivan McKee, Minister for Business, Trade, Tourism and Enterprise from the Scottish Government. You are an old hand at this, Minister McKee, so over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Paul. And yeah, well done for getting my job title right. They just changed a couple of weeks ago and I'm still getting my head around it myself with some added responsibilities, but thankfully still responsibility for Scotland's trade and international investment opportunities, which is great to build on the work we've been doing so far. And it's great to be here. And thanks for the Glasgow Chamber for organising this virtual trade mission in these strange times that we're in to North Rhine-Westphalia. And it's great. And we're very keen to reinvigorate the 2003 MOU with, of course, renewable energy as one of those key priority areas. Great to see the chambers engaging in Germany. I know we've done some great work with the chambers right around the world, but in particular in Germany with this real focus on our trade and investment priorities. And great to see so many Scottish companies attending the virtual mission, because despite Brexit and all the challenges that's thrown up, and of course I don't need to remind anyone that Scotland very much opposed the mistake that is Brexit. We are in Scotland very keen to maintain and grow our links with Europe and with Germany in particular. And I'm sure that today's event will uncover opportunities for both Scottish businesses and for North Rhine-Westphalia. International networks are hugely important to Scotland. Our Global Scot network is really the epitome of that. We continue to grow and expand that network, and I'm delighted that Stefan Schimnacher, the head of the NRW Mittelstand Association, is indeed a Global Scot, and that network, as I say, is very important to us. Of course, all our international trade and investment opportunities are led by the great work of Scottish Development International, SDI, in Germany, led by Johannes Augustin, who I I believe you will hear from later, and I very much look forward to that. And SDI, of course, very keen to engage with businesses to help and to look for potential inward investment opportunities, inquiries into Scotland. So they're really at the forefront of our internationalisation activity. A key priority of the Scottish Government is to further internationalise Scotland's economy, because we are very much an open, progressive, outward-looking country, a fantastic place to live, study, visit and work in, and of course to do business in, as I'm sure you all know. Scotland's very internationally focused around both trade and investment, and we've got very clear strategies we've developed over the last 2 years in both of those areas. Our plan to grow Scotland's exports, a trading nation, recognises that Scotland's export performance is really key to our future growth, prosperity, and to realise the great potential of Scotland's so many world-leading sectors. And that plan sets an ambitious target to almost double international exports over the next 10-year period. A very clear focus on the sectors where Scotland is strong, the markets where we want to do business, and how we deliver those actions. In Germany, I don't need to tell you, is an absolute priority in a trading nation. It's our second biggest export market. It's the market with probably the most potential for growth, and we already do £2.5 billion of exports into Germany, but with huge potential to expand that. Turning to look at our inward investment plan, again, the plan was very much focused on understanding what Scotland had to offer the world, a very clear-headed and analytical approach to identifying Scotland's key sectors, and those spread across net zero, energy transition, decarbonisation of transport, and the digital space, software, IT and digital, financial and business services, and high-value manufacturing, health tech, transformation of chemical industries, food and drink innovation, and our excellent space sector in Scotland, a great hidden gem that we need to do more to promote. Focus very much in that plan about how we maximise the spillover benefits of those inward investments to create the fairer, wealthier Scotland that we all want to see. In Germany, again, very much a key inward investor into Scotland. Top 5 in terms of sources of inward investment, and so many German businesses doing some great work in Scotland, and very welcome and very keen to continue to work with them on new inward investment opportunities to help to our mutual benefit. So, as I said, despite the problems, the difficulties thrown up by the mistake that was Brexit, we in Scotland are unwavering in our commitment to our shared European values, and we continue to want to work together with our European friends and neighbours for the European recovery from the COVID pandemic. In Germany is a key partner country with whom we want to work closely across those many areas where we believe Scotland has a real genuine contribution to make to the German economy. Scotland, as you know, is committed to becoming a zero-emission society by 2045, 5 years earlier than the rest of the UK, and this really is a priority focus for the Scottish Government. It runs through all of our actions, all of our plans, all of our activities, and all of our trade and investment opportunities that we pursue. And how the Scottish Government and our agencies support businesses, investors, consumers, and how we deliver on our work on trade and investment will play an absolutely vital role in the delivery of this ambitious target to become that net zero society. And energy transition, of course, plays a crucial role in that move to net zero. And we've seen the rapid deployment of onshore wind and the experience gained by the Scottish supply chains, making Scotland a trusted and valued partner to do business with globally. And of course, with COP26 delayed from last year, now happening this year in November in Glasgow, it really gives us a great opportunity to push forward with that ambition to see global efforts on the net zero transition in a fair and just way for Scotland to play our key role in that, and also to showcase Scottish technology and business and what we can contribute to that journey to net zero, because Scotland really has the resources, the assets and the people to achieve those ambitions. And Scotland, of course, also has a key role to play in developing the European hydrogen economy. Our hydrogen policy statement sets a vision for Scotland to become a leading hydrogen nation with an ambition to generate 5 gigawatts of renewable and low carbon hydrogen by 2030, and commits to £100 million funding to accelerate the hydrogen economy in Scotland over the next 5 years. And we're really keen to partner with Germany around climate, renewables, and particularly offshore wind and hydrogen. I know hydrogen has been a key priority for our Germany hub over the past 12 to 18 months, and we're delighted to have taken part in our very successful hydrogen webinar a year ago, in place, of course, of a real visit to Dusseldorf that had to be cancelled due to COVID-19. So those links are strong, and we're very keen to build on them. And I'm pleased to see that my colleague, the Minister for Energy, has spoken at national events in Germany, like the National Hydrogen Association Conference, the National Volksversammlung earlier this year. Engaging continues on the industry transition platform through our membership of the Under 2 coalition, taking forward that climate agenda, where Scotland, NRW and others are seeing the benefits of participation in exploring solutions to industrial decarbonisation through the disruptive innovation and sustainable hydrogen work streams. So the Scottish Government's got a really strong track record of supporting world-leading hydrogen demonstration projects in Scotland. And some examples include the H100 project in Fife, which will deliver the world's first domestic hydrogen heat network, giving 300 local households the opportunity to switch from natural gas to 100% green hydrogen for domestic heating. We've got a fleet of 65 hydrogen vehicles in Aberdeen, including 25 double-decker hydrogen buses. We've got the world's first hydrogen production from tidal energy happening in Orkney, and the Big Hit project, which is leading the way with the development of green hydrogen technology and sharing the lessons learned to help other fuel cell and hydrogen projects. So we're really focused on development of the industrialisation of Scotland's hydrogen resource. And due to our favourable location, if you look at a map in terms of where we are in Scotland, it's got its downsides, but I'll tell you, it's got its upsides when it comes to hydrogen. Scotland's got a quarter of all the wind resource in Europe, the largest seascape for future development in Europe, 460,000 square kilometres under our management, and with the best yields due to the high full load hours as a consequence of that Scottish wind, and one of the largest concentrations of offshore engineering expertise in the world as a consequence of our many decades in the oil and gas sector. 1 gigawatt of installed offshore wind capacity already, rising to 11 gigawatt by 2030, and of course costs rapidly decreasing. And that I'll add to already significant onshore wind capacity of 8.4 gigawatt. So together that can be deployed to generate clean hydrogen, and we're confident that Scotland can work together with Germany to supply Germany's green hydrogen demand. So I'm delighted to be welcoming NRW companies during our return mission to Glasgow, which is taking place later this year. And of course, we want to congratulate you on NRW's 75th anniversary this year. Looking forward to continuing with still more productive engagement going forward. I hope you have a great event today, and it's been great to talk with you. Thank you very much for your time.
Minister McKee, excellent. And I think you have eloquently set out why Scotland, and particularly the Scottish Government, is such a trusted and valued climate and enterprise partner. I'm also delighted to see Alexandra Steen in our Berlin hub here to support you today. Thank you for that. Next up is our Minister from North Rhine-Westphalia, and unfortunately, Minister Professor Dr. André Pinkwart was called away on urgent business, but we were able to ask him to record for the delegates a presentation. So if I could ask Sarin to assist me in that, it's a short video presentation, and then after that, I'll introduce Dr. Giersch. Is there some sound there, Sarin?
Is the sound not? The sound isn't working.
Try again. Try again.
between and yeah, thank you very much for this kind introduction, and thank you, Minister McKee, for your view on the trade relationships between Scotland and Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be part of this virtual trade mission, which focuses on renewable energy and green tech. I find the word mission particularly inspiring, because it shows that we share an understanding of the task of successfully shaping climate protection and the energy transition, and that we acknowledge this task as our mission. Joint events like this are part of the implementation of this mission and bring us one step closer to our goal, particularly in the context of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. We recognize that hesitation is not an option. Instead, we are putting cooperation and innovative ideas at the forefront of our action to beef up the energy transition and our climate policy. North Rhine-Westphalia is committed to the Paris Agreement and the Green Deal. Our state supports the need for European and international cooperation in climate policy. The state North Rhine-Westphalia supports the need for European and international cooperation in climate policy. We are committed to the objectives of the Paris Agreement and the European Commission's Green Deal. On that note, the state government of North Rhine-Westphalia supports the ambitious goal of becoming the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. At the same time, it is the contribution of individuals, of each and every one of us, which drives such cooperation. So North Rhine-Westphalia will be doing its bit to work towards a sustainable future. With our history as a major industrial hub, we see the transition to carbon neutrality as both a major challenge we are willing to embrace on the one hand, and mainly as an opportunity to be a pioneering force when it comes to green tech and climate neutral industry on the other hand. That is why we intend to pursue an ambitious climate protection policy and tighten our reduction targets for greenhouse gas emissions. The German government is keen to achieve climate neutrality by the year 2045. Current moves to amend the Climate Protection Act for North Rhine-Westphalia will take into account both the federal government's ambition and the international goals. En route to climate neutrality, the energy transition is of utmost importance. We must therefore manage to downsize the role of fossil energy sources in our energy supply. In Germany, and especially in our state of North Rhine-Westphalia, the coal phase-out fundamentally changes the energy landscape. It is another area where we are making contributions and taking the lead. By 2029, we will have accounted for 70% of the overall reduction of lignite coal capacities in Germany. With a view to putting in place a proper regulatory framework for shaping this transition, our energy supply strategy for North Rhine-Westphalia was published in 2020. In view of their untapped potential, the NRW government is aiming for significant growth in onshore wind capacities and photovoltaic installations by 2030. We believe that it is entirely possible to more than double the net maximum capacity for wind energy and photovoltaics compared to early 20. However, renewables are only one piece of the puzzle. Sector coupling, energy efficiency and grid expansion are other important aspects of an integrated energy system, and so is hydrogen. When it comes to integrated systems and industrial processes, hydrogen will play a crucial role. The use cases and innovation potential of hydrogen has a very diverse array of use cases and innovation potential, and it is an enabler of decarbonization in a wide range. It opens up new avenues for fuel cell-based transport, is a basis for synthetic fuels and gases, facilitates energy storage for renewables integration, is an essential element of sector coupling, and above all, serves as a commodity for industrial production and thus, for example, helps the chemical and steel industry save large amounts of CO2. The hydrogen as a key enabler for achieving climate neutrality. Hydrogen has also gained attention on the European and international level. This is an important signal. Without close international cooperation, it will be much harder to transition to a global hydrogen economy. As players in a global market, we are keen for North Rhine-Westphalia to be the new hydrogen valley. With its energy-intensive industry sector, North Rhine-Westphalia imports most of its energy, something that is likely to continue well into the future. Studies tell us, by the way, that this goes for other countries and regions in Northwest Europe as well. That is why we are putting our focus on the establishment and reinforcement of international partnership arrangements to meet the growing demand for hydrogen in the years ahead. It is a good thing that Scotland and North Rhine-Westphalia are both part of the Industry Transition Platform project, an excellent basis for our continued cooperation in this field. Our HY3 project is looking at the potential for green hydrogen business models shared by the Netherlands and by the state of North Rhine-Westphalia. The focus is on green hydrogen produced by offshore wind turbines, which is transported to major industrial customers in North Rhine-Westphalia through disused gas pipelines. Furthermore, with our Rhine project, we plan to develop a hydrogen supply infrastructure at the Rhine River ports. It is our aim to accomplish this by 2030, covering the Rhine-Alpine inland waterway goods shipping corridor, Rotterdam-Genoa. The ultimate objective is to fully decarbonize the corridor. We need to address this subject now in order to make full use of the potential in North Rhine-Westphalia and northwestern Europe. I'm convinced that international cooperation is the key to successful promotion of the energy transition policy. We face the same challenges no matter which side of a border we are on, so why not try and find win-win solutions instead of working each for themselves? Ladies and gentlemen, if we work with one another and pool our strengths, we can make a difference and turn the transformation of our economies into a success story and a role model for other regions in the world, build a sustainable and livable future. On that note, here is to a successful mission for all of us. Thank you for your input.
Thank you very much, Minister Pinkwart. Another inspiring and uplifting start to our trade mission. Thank you very much for that. And we obviously look forward to the closer collaboration with your Ministry of Economic Affairs, Innovation, Digitalization and Energy. But now, delegates, we've got some further experts on the call today. And the first up is Dr. Rainer Gilch, and he is the chairman of Northern Germany and the head of British Chamber of Commerce Germany Energy Group. And he's going to give you an overview, which I think will be very helpful at the start of this trade mission. Over to you, Dr. Gilch. Thank you.
Paul, thank you very much for introducing me, and I will try to give you a quick rundown of what Germany is all about, and I'll keep it as brief as possible. Just bear with me for a second. Right, let me just begin with the British Chamber of Commerce in Germany. We are over 600 members and have more than 5,000, even more contacts. We are the largest British Chamber of Commerce in Europe, and we've been active in Germany since 1919. So last year we had our, the year before last, sorry, we had our 100th years anniversary. And the patron is always Her Majesty's Ambassador to Germany. And we consist of 12 regional committees, 9 in Germany and 3 in the UK, that work within the region. I've been a member of the board and the chair of the regional committee since 2005, which is quite a while. And we are actually here to help and to assist British companies and German companies that want to sort of move into other regional areas. For example, German companies moving to the UK or UK companies moving to Germany. I would like to share with you a little bit about Germany. I'm not going to tell you what the BSP is, what the economic situation is in Germany. I'll just give you a little bit of rundown. What else is there in Germany? So Germany is the land, the country of the trade and industry associations. And for companies, for organizations moving to Germany, it's very important to know that the Trade and Industry Association in Germany, of which there are 16,000, plus 80 chambers of commerce and industry in Germany, are there to assist and to help. They are very accessible and they are very good to talk to, and they can give you a wealth of information should you need it. Germany is also the land of the trade fairs. I don't know whether you are aware that beyond COVID-19, there were 160 to 180 international trade fairs in Germany, and about 180,000 exhibitors and more than 10 million visitors. So whenever you have something you want to offer to German industry, the trade fair is always a very good way to introduce your business to an international audience. And also, which is, in my opinion, very important, Germany is the land of the Mittelstand, or the small and medium-sized companies. There are 3.5 million Mittelstand companies in Germany, and basically the economic backbone of Germany. And they share the country's economic output, employ about 60% of all the workers, and they contribute significantly to the corporate tax revenue in Germany. And it is important for those companies out of Scotland who are small and medium sized that they are in the right environment in Germany. All right. Also, we are the country of vocational training. And that might be important for those companies that want to employ people in Germany. You will find, particularly within the vocational education system, you will find the right employees. They are technically minded, and the German tool making industry, for example, the German tool makers are just top of the notch. And should you be active in one of those areas, you can actually rely on the German workforce because they're very well educated. So what will be happening after the pandemic? And we believe that we'll emerge stronger from the pandemic. And there are 3 reasons I've found out from having a closer look at the GTAI website, and GTAI, German Trade and Investment, will give you another presentation later today. But the reasons are that automation is speeding up in Germany. We've been lagging behind maybe, but smart technologies are sort of coming to the fore, and especially those relating to the network industry and the the IoT, the Internet of Things. And we expect the, across all sectors, a growth rate between 6 and 10% until 25. And also the majority of the exports from Germany are made within the EU. So the exports are worth 48.2 billion and to the EU, which make up over 50% of all exports. And while the pandemic may have weakened some supply chains and global supply chains, the trade within the EU has remained pretty stable. And that is also a reason for that the economy should prove resilient. And of course, German companies are digitalizing fast. Also, over the last years, Germany has been lagging behind this, but we are picking up speed. So this is where actually we find that German economy should prove resilient. So the other question is, where is the growth going to come from? And so we find that Germans have, in the pandemic, which is probably something that is the equivalent in other countries as well, Germans have embraced online shopping. And German consumers have long been skeptical about it, but this is now picked up. So internet retail platforms are probably coming to the fore. Then let's focus on German photonics. This is a sector which is moving pretty fast and at a very good speed. So the total photonics industry revenue in Germany is about 37 billion and is probably going to grow some more. What else? Putting forward, the sky's the limit, because unmanned aviation is taking off in a big way in Germany, and international players have already begun to notice. And there is a particular air mobility hub developing in the south of Germany, not necessarily North Rhine-Westphalia, I'm sorry to say, but in the south. And the point is, a lot of discussion is going on about delivery and the last mile of delivery. And so unmanned aviation is probably going to play an interesting future role. Also, what has been said by Minister Pinkwart, that we are moving into particularly renewables and into energy savings and energy efficiency. And smart cities are, of course, a very interesting topic. And Germany is developing quite rapidly the smart city approach. So any company active in this realm would be really welcome. Why we are ripe for smart cities, I don't want to go through this. I mean, German cities drive Europe's economy. German cities are more or less autonomous, and the big cities are looking for tech solutions. And of course, it's also important to know that the national government offers major funding for smart cities, and digitalization is being accelerated also due to the pandemic. And also there are powerful green innovations, just as an example, replacing diesel generators with carbon neutral batteries, for example. So battery technology is something that's coming up. And of course, as we all know, the green hydrogen technologies will play an important role in Germany. And the German government has announced a euro 9 billion support program to develop specific hydrogen technologies. So that should be actually very much up the Scottish alley, if I may say so. So, and there's something else I would like to mention, and Sarah and I spoke about it before, or when she asked me to do this presentation. I would like to give you a little bit of business etiquette in Germany. A lot of, I'm saying this because we've had a lot of experience with, say, British companies that come to Germany, have meetings there, or try to do business in Germany. In general, it's always better to err on the side of formality. Germans are very punctual. So if you happen to be 5 minutes late for a meeting, better give them a call and tell them you're going to be 5 minutes late. Otherwise, you'll be seen as rude. And post and pre-COVID, it was always handshakes in Germany. So short and firm handshake is the most typical greeting. And also, you should respect the chain of command, and hierarchy is very much respected in Germany. And so when introducing co-workers or introducing people, please start with the most senior in order not to sort of step on anybody's toes. Workflow tends to go fast, tends to go at a steady pace, and projects are expected to be completed on time. As to the attire, I have to say, this is gradually changing. I mean, you see, I'm not wearing a tie, and particularly during video conferences, people don't do that. But also in Germany, the tie wearing is sort of petering out. But still, the attire is generally on the conservative side. And the titles are important in Germany, but also this is sort of going out of the window slowly. So, but if you know someone has a title, use the title just to be on the safe side. The other thing I would like to mention in Germany, say what you mean and do what you say. Don't make any promises you can't fulfill, because we have had cases where UK companies said, yes, yes, we'll come back to you. And they never did. And this is a business attitude that doesn't work in Germany. If you make a promise and don't deliver, you are out of the business. And this is an advice that all companies should really heed. So that brings me to the end of this short presentation, and thank you for listening, and I wish you lots of success for your mission.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gish. Thank you. Excellent presentation, and fascinating the way that you have kind of taken the something else, if you like, provided the space between the notes to help our delegates. I think it's fascinating, and hopefully everybody find that valuable. Equally valuable is our next session. This is from Christina Schoen, and Christina will tell us, she's the Senior Manager for Germany Trade and Investment. And in this session, Christina will try and give you some overview about the legal implications of doing business in Germany. Christina.
Thank you very much. I hope we will see, I think that's slide number 3 or something, Sarah. Yeah, exactly. That's the beginning. Okay, so good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome on my behalf as well. And a special thanks to the organizers for having me here today. And also thanks to Mr. Giersch for delivering the arguments why Germany, so I can continue with how Germany, so to say. And the focus of my presentation today is expansion to Germany. I hope this information will be useful to you. And if you haven't considered an expansion yet, I still hope that this information might initiate your plans for the future. So next slide, please. And before I go into detail, I really would like to briefly introduce Germany Trade and Invest to you. So GTAI is the German Federal Economic Development Agency, and we support international companies expanding to Germany. In this context, we provide market information, but we also support with site selection and provide information about tax, legal, and financial framework for investments in Germany. Next slide, please. As an organization, we focus on the following industry sectors: energy, building, and environmental technologies. I believe a lot of you would belong to this sector, but we also have industry specialists within mechanical and electronic technologies, chemical and healthcare, as well as digital service industries. Our investor support services team, this is the team where I am a member, assists foreign companies with information about the tax, legal, and financial framework for investments. My colleagues from the Trend and Innovation Scouting team, they are part of the German Digital Hub initiative, which offers a network for international startups and German companies. Next slide, please. So in the beginning of the process, in the discussion with foreign companies, we typically speak to international companies currently comparing different markets for their planned expansion. And here we, of course, provide general information about Germany. But very often, some companies have already decided that Germany is the right market for the expansion. And in these cases, we assist in finding the right location, but also in realizing the project. In this process, we work hand in hand with the economic development agencies of the German federal states, the so-called Bundesländer, just like NRW Global Business, as which also is participating today. Okay, so let's get into the topic of setting up a German market presence. Next slide, please. Setting up a German market presence requires some kind of a legal structure, and a subsidiary tends to be the most popular option for this purpose. Reasons are that it's generally much easier to conduct business through an independent legal entity. A subsidiary also gives a business more credibility, for instance, with third parties, such as banks, service providers, customers, but also to employees. The most popular company form for a subsidiary is the German limited liability company, the so-called GmbH. This requires a German business address, but also a local representative on site in the country. The minimum share capital is 25,000 euros. This is, however, not a deposit. To a certain extent, you can also use this capital for your business operations. Next slide, please. So, setting up a GmbH has quite clear defined steps. The time frame for this procedure is around 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes a bit longer, and the costs for notary and commercial register around 800 euros. So key person during this procedure is a German notary. As a first step, the shareholders of the company must adopt the Articles of Association. These must also be notarized by a German notary that checks the legal aspects. And after the session with the notary, you will also receive a notarial deed with which you can set up a bank account and transfer the share capital. As I mentioned earlier, 25,000 euros is the minimum share capital. However, in order to register the company, it is sufficient if only half of this sum, 12,500 euros, is placed on an account. Once the company will be registered with the commercial register, it starts to exist, and also it's limited liability. So it's very important not to take any action on behalf of the company before this. Before you start up your business operation, you must also notify the local trade office about your activities. Next slide, please. There is also a startup version of the GmbH called the UG in German, Unternehmergesellschaft haftungsbeschränkt. Quite complicated name, so we rather refer to it as the mini GmbH. And with this company form, you can actually set up a company with a limited liability, but with a share capital less than 25,000 euros. So here, shareholders choose a sum between €1 and 24,999 euros. As a compensation, the UG has to retain a quarter of its annual profit until it has accumulated 25,000 euros. And as soon as this capital level has been reached, it is also possible to upgrade the UG into a normal GmbH. The UG is quite popular among startups, but I must say that it still has to struggle a bit with a kind of a budget reputation among businesses in Germany. So next slide, please. Could maybe a branch office be an option for a German market presence? A branch office is an extension of the head office company, and it typically engages in sales and service activities. Since it is no separate entity, it has no separate limited liabilities. The head office company back in the home country is hence liable for any debts or obligations occurred by the branch office. There are two versions available in Germany, the so-called dependent branch office, which typically initiates business, and the autonomous branch office, which has tasks beyond the pure implementation business. Setting up a branch office is generally faster and cheaper. So what's the catch? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it tends to be much easier to conduct business in Germany through a domestic independent legal entity, since it has actually more credibility, especially when it comes to hiring employees. This can be an issue. But also, if we have a look at allocation of incomes between a foreign head office company and a branch office, this might do the thing a bit complicated. So the straight way would probably be to set up a separate company like a GmbH, but a branch office could also, under circumstances, be an option. So setting up a company also means registration. And Saren, could you please go to the next slide? Here you see a registration procedure for the branch office. And as you can see, this procedure is definitely shorter for the autonomous and the branch office, dependent branch office, compared to the GmbH incorporation. Still, there must be certain registration done with the commercial register and the trade office notification. Next slide, please. If you have a permanent establishment in Germany, which means a subsidiary or a branch office, and it is profitable, then it's also subject to corporate income taxation in Germany. There are three different components of the corporate income taxation in Germany. Two of these, which you see black on this slide, the corporate income tax and the solidarity surcharge, they have nationwide fixed rates, adding up to 15.8%. The third component, the local trade tax, it varies on municipal level, and it has a statutory minimum rate of 7%, and the current German average rate is 14%. And as a result, of course, also the overall income tax rates differs accordingly to the local trade tax. So currently in Germany, we have an average of 29.89%. But there are a lot of municipalities offering lower rates, even down to 22.8%. So I guess you're quite interested where you could find these spots. And Saren, if you would like to move over to the next slide, you will see a map, which is a map tool provided by the German Federal Statistics Office. Here you see a lot of different colors, and the lighter the color, the lower the tax rate, generally speaking. I have highlighted some of the major cities in Germany, and you can, for instance, see Düsseldorf, which is the capital of North Rhine-Westphalia. All major cities in Germany tend to have tax rates above 30%. But the positive news is that there is always a location very close by offering lower rates. So in the case of Düsseldorf, you, for instance, will find Monheim, very close to Düsseldorf, with a rate of 24.6%. Next slide, please, Saren. So from this year, also the topic of entry and residency have really gained in importance, since the free movement of persons and workers within the EU is not applicable to UK citizens anymore. Positive is, of course, that there still is a visa exemption for UK citizens traveling for short-term stays to Germany. And short-term stays means up to 90 days in a 180-day period. This visa exemption also applies to business trips, unless an economic activity is pursued. So typically you can attend meetings, conferences, promoting sales services, negotiating contracts and signing and so on without having any kind of a visa. If you would like to take up work or economic activity in Germany, a residence permit is required. And I will wrap up my presentation by giving you a bit of the requirements for the granting of a residence permit. If you would move over to the next slide, please. As I mentioned before, so taking up a job or an economic activity, there is a requirement for residence permit currently for UK citizens. Still, UK citizens belong to a privileged group because they can travel to Germany and apply on site in Germany with the local immigration office. And the requirements for these different kind of residence permits, they do depend on the person's status as either self-employed or employed. So for instance, if we have a closer look at employees, here the job position in Germany is crucial. And in general, an approval from the Federal Employment Agency, a job contract, and a recognized qualification are required. However, there are very many different residence titles available. For instance, there is a specific one for foreign academics, the so-called EU Blue Card, where academics can be granted a residence permit under a bit easier requirements. On the other side, the self-employed persons, there will be an individual assessment by the local immigration office of the business plan, where they check whether there will be positive economic effects of the project, and if there is a secure financing in place, and so on. So this was a quite quick rush through some of the most important topics to consider when expanding to Germany. Next slide, please. I would just like to highlight that we also do have a contact in the UK, Mr. Robert Scheid, who is also participating today, I believe. And if you would like to receive further information about our organization or would like to know more about expanding to Germany, we are happy to help you. So please reach out to you. And if you go ahead for the next slide, Saren, you will also see that we do have a lot of information online where you can find out a bit more about framework for investment, but also information regarding Brexit and different industry focuses. Thank you very much for listening and see you later in the question session.
Well, Dankeschön, Frau Sean. That was most informative and you've given us an excellent overview and you've also given me a tip to go and get my EU Blue Card for an academic. Being a vocational centre of excellence, we share a lot with our colleagues in Germany. So next up is Frau Dagmar Wilnitz, who will give us, who's head of business unit in the UK for, and also France, Italy, and the Nordic countries for North Rhine-Westphalia Global, and she will give us an overview on the region itself, the North Rhine-Westphalia, and in particular, why this region of Germany, this important region of Germany, is an attractive place to do business. So we're kind of zoning in each time delegates to help you both with your decision making, but also for some questions. And can I also thank all our speakers so far for being punctual? It's of course natural, but appreciate it. Thank you very much. 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Paul. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining today's market awareness session and your interest in Germany. And thank you to the Glasgow Chamber of Commerce for organizing the event and having me. We have had various joint events with the Chamber in the past, and we're looking forward to continuing our cooperation also with Scotland during COP26. Today, our UK representative Andrew Harford and I have the pleasure of sharing some facts and figures with you on business opportunities for Scottish companies from the energy sector in the state of North Rhine-Westphalia. And I'm going to share my presentation with you if I can. Not sure it works. Saren, can you share my presentation, or can you? Yes, thank you. All right, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks. That's it. I think I can't control my presentation. You have to help me there, Saren, if possible. Thank you. All right. Next slide, please. Okay. So if we compare a little bit, or if we talk about the economy in Europe, we can easily see that Germany and the UK are the leading economies in the EU, with 25 and 18% of the EU's gross domestic product, respectively. Next slide, please. And one more, please. So now we're coming to NRW, and I would like to compare it, in fact, with Scotland, because that's much more important for this seminar, I think. So if we look at the area, NRW has 43% of Scotland's area. So we're pretty small as a German state, but NRW has 3 times Scotland's population. And this means a lot of potential customers for you. The population density in NRW obviously is also much higher than in Scotland, and NRW's GDP is about 3.5 times higher than Scotland's. But this is quite amazing, because it's only 3.5% higher, because when you compare it with Scotland's population, its economy is quite strong. So that's interesting. When we come to exports and imports, Scotland has 56% of NRW's export volume and 48% of NRW's import volume. It's just to give you a kind of perspective where we are here. Next slide, please. So if we look at the economic output in Germany, you can see that NRW is the strongest state with the highest GDP. As you might be aware, Germany has 16 federal states which have a high degree of autonomy under a federal umbrella. And NRW is Germany's leading state. Next slide, please. And the next one, please. Thank you. So these are our top sectors of industry. The mechanical engineering sector, the chemical sector, and food and beverage, and many others are our top sectors of industry. NRW is unique in a specific way because we have about 16 sectors of industry that are very well represented. Compared to other regions in Germany, you might find that there are 2 or 3 major sectors of industry. Why is that? It's because NRW has an industrial tradition, and because of the high population, we have a very high demand for services and products, and this is why the sectors have developed the way they have. But we also have other sectors of industry that are fairly important, as for example the energy sector, which is not shown on this slide. Andrew, can you think of any other sector of industry, apart from the energy sector, obviously, that are important in our state?
Yes, the one that's clearly missing from this list is logistics. If you look at the center of the logistics dartboard for Northern Europe is Düsseldorf, with some 160 million people within a 500-kilometer radius. So logistics, and the fact is that we have 7 Amazon facilities, for example. Logistics is very, very important to our state.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Next slide, please. Yeah, and the next one. Thank you. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of large, but also small and medium-sized companies in our region, which provide an excellent customer base for companies selling cross-industry, obviously. So we have 18 of the 50 top selling companies in Germany are headquartered in our region. And just to mention 2 from the energy sector, it's RWE and E.ON, but also other companies in the chemical and pharmaceutical sector like Bayer or Henkel Chemical Company, or from the retail business, Rewe. Yeah, it's quite a lot. Thank you. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we don't only have big companies in our region, but the majority of our companies are small and medium-sized. And this is something we share with Scotland. You also have the majority of your companies are small and medium-sized companies. So if you look at NRW and try to find partners, you're more likely, when you're a small and medium-sized company, to find a suitable partner among the over 700,000 small and medium-sized companies in our region. And these small and medium-sized companies are the backbone of our economy, with almost 80% of the workforce. Next slide, please. Or the next 2 slides, actually. Thank you. So if we look at where do our investors come from, if we put aside Luxembourg, because many financial transactions run through Luxembourg, our major foreign investor country is the Netherlands, our neighbors, of course. But the UK are also a very important trading partner to North Rhine-Westphalia. Next slide, please. So we have about 20,000 foreign companies in North Rhine-Westphalia, and among them are 1,400 UK companies, but also quite a significant number of Scottish companies like Agrico, Amec Foster Wheeler, or Santa Salo Gears, or Ethos Energy, for example. Next slide. Oh, for example, Andrew, do you think, I just wanted to ask you, do you think that the Brexit will have an important impact also on UK and Scottish companies? Because that's an important question we've been asking ourselves by contacting potential prospects.
Yes, certainly we've seen a large uptick in interest by UK and Scottish companies looking to expand their business into the single market following Brexit, particularly those companies in food and beverage. Smoked salmon and whiskey has been on my list recently, but also firms that currently depend on importing goods from particularly the Far East, whereas rather than importing them into the UK, they're now deciding to import them directly into Germany for the EU market. So yes, there's been some significant differences as UK companies come to grips with the detail of Brexit.
Right, it's quite exciting times for us because we have a lot of inquiries and interesting companies to help with. So we would like to share your views on your growth plans with you. later on. Thanks, Andrew. Next slide, please. So I would like to give you a quick overview of the energy industry in NRW. I won't go into very much detail because you'll be hearing a lot more on this during your trade mission. But we have more than 4,700 companies with around 46,000 employees in the renewable energy sector. And E.ON and RWE are among the largest energy suppliers in the world, and they are headquartered here. We also have leading trade fairs. And as you know, you were supposed to visit Essen with the largest trade show, the EU World Energy and Water, which is now taking place virtually because of COVID. And we also have a lot of research institutes. Next slide, please. So, as you know, the energy and water in Essen belongs to the leading European trade fairs in your sector of industry. And we have actually, the digital program takes place this year between the 1st and the 17th of June. But we hope next year the trade show will take place physically in February, from 8 to 10 February. So maybe we'll have a possibility to meet there physically. We're all dying to see the end of COVID-19. Next slide, please. And one more. Just to point out that we have around 120 institutes at more than 30 universities, as well as 20 non-university research organizations that conduct energy-related teaching and research, with a special emphasis on increasing energy efficiency and exploiting the potential of renewables. So we're very excited to see Scottish companies be active in this sector in our region. Next slide, please. So when we come to, and next, thank you. So it's also important to know that as a result of the density of research in this sector, we have a lot of talent in your sector. So it will be fairly easy to really attract the right employees for your business in our region. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to give you a short overview of our free services for UK and Scottish companies. So when you get started and you think, yes, NRW is the right place for our company to establish a business, then we can provide you with the essential facts and figures. And we work closely together with GGIA, by the way. So I'm in touch with both Christina and her colleagues, her team in Berlin, as well as Robert Scheid in London. So we also provide you with information about the network of legal and accounting professionals that you will need to have in order to establish your business here. And we also help you with site search in the region of North Rhine-Westphalia, or NRW. It's all a free service, and we also give you information about labor cost and availability of skills, for example, and many other aspects that you will need to consider in order to make your decision. Next slide, please. Yeah, and as I said, we help you find and recruit labor, and there's also funding advice, and I might turn your attention to the fact that there's a €3,000 welcome package available for non-EU companies, and I can now offer this to the UK as well. We also help you when you have established your business. We help you with accessing the right networks in order to allow you to grow and to make the right contacts and get in touch with your future customers. Andrew, maybe you can explain a little bit further how you work together with me. I'm in Düsseldorf, based in Düsseldorf, and Andrew, as a first point of contact, is located in London.
Yes, exactly. I'm the UK representative, so my job is to be your first port of call. Any UK company can contact me. In normal times, I would be happy to visit you. But now, if we could have a Zoom or a Teams call, understand your requirements, and then I'll do my very best to help. I have a pipeline of UK companies that I feed towards Dagmar in Düsseldorf, and between us, we do our utmost to help you with a free and confidential service to help you grow your business in our part of Germany.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Can we go on, please? So when you come to our area, you won't be alone, because we have a very good network, excellent network actually, for UK and Scottish companies. We have the British Consulate General in Düsseldorf, and the Department for Trade and Industry, for International Trade. We have a section of the British Chamber of Commerce in Germany, and also the Scottish Development International team in Düsseldorf, with which we work very closely together. And I see that Johannes Augustin is following my little presentation. So we're working very closely together, and it's a lot of fun, I might say. So next slide, please. So coming to a conclusion, this is Andrew Harford's contact details if you wish to get in touch with him and discuss your growth plans with him. Equally, you can contact me. Next slide, please. And this is my last slide for today. I'm based in Düsseldorf, and Andrew and I are looking forward to getting in touch with you and discussing your plans. And we wish you a very successful trade mission to Germany and NRW. Thank you so much.
Well, Dankeschön, Frau Wilnix and Dagmar. We are delighted to see you again. You led a delegation from Westphalia to Glasgow before, so we're looking forward to seeing you back actually over for COP26. Indeed, and obviously Andrew too. Thank you very much for that. Okay, another big supporter of Glasgow Chamber of Commerce is our next guest, Herr Johan Augustin and his colleague, Frau Alexanderstein. And Johannes will tell us more about, the SDI support that we have for your disposal. And Johannes actually has been a big supporter of the Chamber and actually helped us with a delegation 2 years ago to Düsseldorf. So you're delegates, you're getting some really cutting edge information from all our speakers here today. And our final one today is over to you, Johannes, and then we'll go to questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Welcome, everyone. And can I ask, Sharon, would you be, thank you. That's helpful. So yeah, my name is Johannes Augustin. I'm actually based in the same city as Dagmar, who just spoke, in Düsseldorf. And Dagmar, I quote you, NRW is Germany's leading state, and Düsseldorf is the capital of Germany's leading state, and this is where I'm currently sitting, and that's where we're based. I've got two roles. I am working for Scottish Development International as the EMEA head for inward investment. So we are trying to attract, for example, German companies to invest in Scotland. But at the same time, I'm SDI's senior representative here in Germany. SDI is the international trade and investment arm of Scottish Enterprise, and our role is to further the internationalization of the Scottish economy. Could you go to the next slide, please, Sharon? Thank you. We do this with a team of now 11 people in Germany, and you see on the map on the right side where we are based in Düsseldorf. 10 of our colleagues are actually based here in Düsseldorf, and one colleague is based at the British Embassy in Berlin. On the left side, you see Nicola Sturgeon in Berlin in 2018. That was the joint mission to Berlin, Nuremberg, and Munich at the time, which was very, very successful. And I'm just showing this picture really because I've got the big hope that one day you guys will be here physically in Düsseldorf in North Rhine-Westphalia, and we don't have to look at old pictures how these things could look like. Next slide, please. As also my predecessors, we are also here to support you, and I've listed it here on the slide. I'm not reading this off. You can do it yourself. If I was to describe who we are, I would say consider us as your door into the German market. We've got sector expert colleagues here in Germany. The one for everything green and renewables has just started literally 2 weeks ago. He will speak tomorrow. His name is Steve Taylor. And he's the only one who actually isn't based in Düsseldorf. He's based in Berlin at the British Embassy, but he's one of the key contacts for you. If we don't know the answer to your question, we know someone who will know the answer to your question, because we are working with partners, with the Department of International Trade, with colleagues such as Dagmar or Germany Trade and Invest, the Chambers of Commerce. We are all one big network, but also through our Global Scot network. So these are very senior Scottish individuals or individuals who have studied in Scotland, who are based here in Germany, and who, in my words, who made it here in the market. And you can access those individuals as well for free advice on what to do or not to do here in Germany. And one of the key offers I'd like to make, or I would have already long made, one of the first thing in this presentation is when you come to North Rhine-Westphalia, in normal times, you can access this office and use it as your office, as free desk space, free internet access, free access to the colleagues and individuals here in the office. I don't need to explain why that at the moment isn't possible, but I'm very optimistic it will soon be possible. So if and when you travel to North Rhine-Westphalia, if you want to start business here or speak to companies and partners here, do not forget about this offer. Free desk space here in the heart of Düsseldorf, in the heart of North Rhine-Westphalia, available for you, and just contact me and we speak about the details then. I've got one last slide, which is showing you all the contact details. I appreciate it's probably relatively small in the screen, but I'm pretty sure you get the soft copy of the presentations anyway. There you've got all the names of colleagues here in market, plus their contact details in terms of email address as well. And that's already me and my 5 minutes up. I wish you all the best. Thanks for listening, and good luck for all your endeavors here in Germany. Thanks a lot. I'm handing back to you, Saren.
Thank you very much, Johannes. Thank you very much. Thank you to all our speakers so far. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the formal part of this over. Now we've got some Q&A for about 10 or 15 minutes. This is your chance to ask the questions that you might want to ask initially based on some of the inputs that you heard today. If you could ask your question on chat, I'll try and moderate that. So if you could all put 1 or 2 questions on chat, and meanwhile, can I kick off? Dagmar, you whet my appetite earlier by saying there was a €3,000 welcome package. How do I get my hands on that?
Yes, Paul, that's fairly easy actually, because it is being managed by NRW Global Business, by my company. And we have an application form, and you don't need to give us a lot of information. But the important thing is you can get this €3,000 welcome package if you have established a limited liability company, for example. And if you have an address, a business address, here in the state of North Rhine-Westphalia. It's a bit to help you, facilitate your first steps and, for example, pay bills for your legal advice or accounting advice. And it's fairly easy. You can ask Andrew and me to send you the application form, and then use it, send it back to us, fill it out. It's not 20 pages. I think it's just 2 or 3 pages, and then it's all we need to know, and then it gets the ball rolling.
Thank you. And Andrew said I think she's 2 pages, so that's doable indeed. And I don't see any more questions so I'm going to ask the question in the meantime, thanks to Fry Sean. You mentioned about getting talent and skills. How easy is it to get that if I set up locally?
You asked me?
Who did you address?
I wasn't really sure.
Sorry, I confused a lot of you. It was a question this time to Fry Sean.
Okay, finding talent. I actually believe that this question is more correct at Dagmar Wultnitz, because she is the one at the federal state level assisting you in finding the talent. So if you wouldn't mind, Dagmar?
Yeah, that would be
not
good,
at all, Christina, not at all.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we help you because we have a network of professionals, HR professionals. We don't have any contracts with them, so we need to be neutral, and we are neutral. But of course, we have the contacts, and we'll be pleased to make them available to you. And then you can really find the right experts with them. And of course, I have a lot of, being in the business for over 30 years, I know the right matches, if you like, for finding suitable labor. And there are huge companies, HR companies, but there are also smaller ones, and sometimes even one-person recruitment agencies that are very effective and have helped my customers a great deal over the last few years. So usually they find the right people, even if it's in a kind of niche that you're looking for. NRW has a slightly higher unemployment rate than south of Germany, for example. This means that we have quite a lot of people available, also highly qualified, industry experienced people. So usually we don't have any problems finding the right people, and we're happy to help.
Great. And we've got a question for Bill in the chat. The costs of setting up a company in Germany. I don't know whether for Sean or Johannes, you want to take that one?
I think I mentioned it in my presentation, but it might have been very quick. So the rough costs for a standard GmbH with a share capital of 25,000 euros for registration and for notary would be around 800 euros. Yeah. Again, if you would like more advice on this, if you would need a lawyer really holding your hand and helping you with a step which might be comfortable, you know, if you don't feel like putting too much work into itself there, it will cost more. And I think there are certain packages offered by a law firm, like around 2,000 euros for all these all these things around that you don't have to take care of yourself in this case.
Great. Fantastic. And Andrew, did you want to come in there, Tom?
Yeah, I would just say that we normally quote a rule of thumb of between £3,000 and £5,000 when you take all the costs associated with registering a GmbH. It does vary, but the ability to claim a €3,000 grant is a substantial contribution towards that cost.
May I add something, Paul?
Yes, please, Dagmar, please.
Yeah, well, actually, in times of COVID, we found a very practical, hands-on approach to helping companies from the UK establish their business here without having to travel. So we work together with legal professionals who can do this without any necessity to travel.
Fantastic. Richard has put on chat, I think it's really for all our speakers today, what plans have you to come to COP26 in Glasgow? So maybe start with you first.
Thanks for the question. I can probably answer some of that. So COP26 is obviously one of the biggest opportunities I can think of for Scotland on a global scale at the moment, because in November, the entire world will look at Scotland. And whilst we're now currently talking about the Paris Agreement, maybe one day we'll talk about the Glasgow Agreement. So that could be phenomenal in terms of impact for Scotland and for Glasgow. One thing I'd like to share at this stage, because it is obviously also very complex to plan for that, from an inward investment angle. So basically us trying to attract companies to invest in Scotland, in Glasgow, we are trying to do that on a global scale. So I'm not doing a Germany only project on this particular one, but we're doing a global project on this one, where we have entered discussions with the world's biggest companies in the area of hydrogen in particular, wanting and asking them to come over to COP26 and having dedicated sessions with them. Some of them are already investors in Scotland, so they may hopefully expand some of their investment in Scotland, especially in the area of green hydrogen. And some others haven't, and we may be able to attract them to go and consider Scotland going forward. So this is about inward investment. That's personally one of my key areas, but also in terms of trade. I hope there will be a return mission of this very mission today, later this year to Glasgow. And I don't know exactly the timing, but that clearly will have and should have a link to COP26 as well. So that's roughly what we are planning to do here from Düsseldorf.
Excellent, Johannes. Dagmar, do you want to say, or Christina?
Well, actually, we're working on a plan together with Johannes to set up a program, because our Minister of Economics and Digitalization, Innovation and Energy, Professor Pinkwart, is planning to visit COP26. For that reason, we would really like to build up a program to attract foreign direct investment to our region. And I might say we have a huge demand of green hydrogen in our region in order to reach the CO2 limits. It's a big issue, both politically and economically. And this is the reason why we would like to really reach out to you again during COP26. And I hope we can do it physically and come to your beautiful country. So yeah, that's from my side.
Well, you'll be most welcome. Christina, maybe you want to answer that and also the question that Bill put in the chat. Do German companies have to have their share capital in the bank account, i.e. the 25,000 euro you mentioned? He said this is something that was dropped in as a requirement by UK and Netherlands, for example.
Yeah. So you do require a minimum share capital of 25,000 euros in order to register the company. It is sufficient if half of this sum is put in a bank account. These 25,000 euros, this is not a deposit, so you can use this to a certain extent for your business operations. You have to be a bit, have to be aware of the fact that you don't undercapitalize your company, of course. So the 25,000 euros, this is your liability, so to say, as a shareholder. You are liable up to the amount of the share capital, but again, you could also use it for your business operations. And unfortunately, I do not think I will go to COP. I think our representatives on site in UK will have the shorter trip going there. So I hope that they have the possibility of joining.
Well, we'd love to have you there virtually, Christina and Dr. Kirschen and others today. Okay, any other final questions from the chat? Okay, so if they're not, I'm going to try and role model what my German counterparts have done, is keeping all the time, and impressively so, of all the 6 virtual trade missions, this has been the slickest and most punctual. So a big Vielen Dank to all our German colleagues. Thank you so much. And whether you're joining us physically or joining us virtually at COP26, you'll be most welcome yet again in Glasgow. And can I say to all the delegates here today, all the very best. I wish you a prosperous investment and business with our colleagues in Westphalia. It's a fantastic region. This is a fantastic opportunity, and Glasgow Chamber of Commerce stands ready to support you in whatever way we can as the oldest Chamber of Commerce in the UK. Okay, Neil's put a wee comment on chat, but I think, Sarah, we probably will end it there. Thank you very much for all your contributions. Thank you, speakers, yet again, and good luck, delegates. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Good luck, everyone.